अच्छा ठीक कुल ही हो गया
ये आपका बैग है
Okay, assalamualaikum guys. My name is Ravi. Welcome to Datum Square in Devcon. Okay, so with a brief introduction of Devcon, code movement in the first place. Code movement is a movement to spread awareness of coding in Pakistan, and we started it a couple of years back, and we are trying to spread awareness of what coding is all about and bring its true potential to school kids, to college graduates, university graduates, and to the professionals of this very field. So this is one of our biggest events, and inshallah you will see more and more guys coming in, and you will be feeling more and more. This Devcon will be consists of 5 speakers, and we'll be talking about Angular, Node, Express, Mongo, and Bootstrap and responsive design. So welcome to that. And our first speaker here is Vajit, and he'll be talking about Node.js. So thank you.
I was so throat, so it'll be tough for me to, So let me try to be as audible as possible, and let's start off with what yes. The agenda. We'll be talking about NPM, node package management, and we'll be discussing everything in detail. So, the very first thing, if it's open source, it grows fast. This is exactly what we saw with Java, and I remember Java starting back in 2000 or even before that, and it was always open source. People started developing in it, and they were always making new modules for it. They were always improving it. In comparison to .NET, Java went to an enterprise because of its openness, because of the development that was going on in it. So this is the same case that we see with Node.js, and this is the same case that we see with a lot of other technologies that are here in the market now. Then let's talk about Node. It's open source, it's cross-platform, and it's a server-side network application. When we say it's a server-side network-based application, what we mean to say is, like, whenever we talk about a web server, what is a web server? A web server is an application that's running and it actually listens to sockets, right? Listens to port 80, for instance, or it listens to port 8081 or any other port that you configure it to. And what it does is it has the capability to serve you some web pages, right? Based on their extensions, it knows how to execute them, it knows what modules it needs to load to render those pages and all that kind of stuff. So when we are talking about Node.js, Node.js is also a socket application. It's your application itself, in contrary to how you write web applications in PHP, .NET, Java, because when you're writing those applications, you're writing a web application, right? And then you host that web application within a web server. In case of Node, the application that you're writing starts its own web server, and it starts listening to a specific port. Everything is very basic to the core, and this is also a good point in terms of Node.js, because we don't have to. It's basically so small, so it has a very small footprint, right? So that makes it fast. That makes it good. It was initially released in 2009. Not very old. It's pretty mature. Created by Ryan now, and this is the website where you can look at Node.js. You can download it, and the GitHub project with Joynet has provided the open source version of it. Joynet is the company where this guy Ryan was working when he started the initiative of Node.js. So the story behind it is Ryan was trying to upload some images or files, and the problem that he was facing with the web server was he couldn't get the status, like how much of a file is uploaded to the server. There was no real-time reply backs from the server. We would always have to pull information from there, right? In case, so he started off working on an application which was connected through a socket, and it was always connected. Like whenever we are talking about web applications, we're talking about stateless web applications. They get data from the server, and that's it. You have to make another request to get more data from there, right? It's an AJAX request, it's a complete page request, all that sorts of stuff. But when we're talking about Node.js, we're talking more about connected real-time applications, where where the data is pushed from the server to the client. So all the clients are updated in real time if you want to. Moving forward, applications are written in JavaScript, very basic, very small language. It was not even considered a complete language. It was considered more of for front end and scripting tasks and stuff. Now we do server side and client side development. It runs on Google V8 engine. It is the same engine that Chrome uses to execute JavaScript. V8 engine is a super Google's product that actually what it does is it converts JavaScript into compiled code that is compile ready for the machine. So the execution is very fast. So this is a very big and a very important question. Is Node.js a serious option for enterprise applications? Well, yes, it is, because in fact, it's our best option for typical heavy data IO web applications. Wherever we need intensive IO, we should consider using Node.js over there. We will talk about why typically IO applications we are talking about IO applications in the coming slides. So, why Node.js? First reason, it builds fast, because JavaScript is on the server side, JavaScript is on the client side. There is no changing between server-side languages and client-side languages, right? There is no transition in there. You're writing your code in just one language, it's JavaScript. It's all across the board, and doing that actually makes it so that it's available, it's reusable. All the components that you make for the server side can also be utilized on the client side if they're not doing any specific thread intensive work, or they're not doing any specific thing that's unavailable on the client side. Furthermore, it's a very light stack, quick create test cycle, and large number of offerings for web application creation. And you can build real-time applications in it. Usually we don't have much option. We didn't actually have a lot of options back when we were developing. Like, I come from a background where I've been working on .NET applications for the last 10 years, right? And lots of times there were situations where we would have a project where, excuse me, we would come across something where we would need to update the client in real time. Think of charts, like we're presenting high charts, we've added high charts on the front end, and we want to present the user with real-time data as it's updated on the server. How do we do that when we are not using Node.js or we are not using real-time applications? We'll obviously be pulling data from the server, right? And that pulling actually costs. Every request that we send over to the server doesn't necessarily mean that we have that already over there. So what we are doing is we'll be polling like every 2 seconds if you want to make it real time, or even if you make it even smaller. Let's say we poll every second, and we have like 1,000 clients who are actually looking at that data. So what we are creating is we are creating 1,000 requests per second. So on our web server side, the issue is that we'll be consuming a lot of bandwidth. We'll be choking the server. We'll need to add in more money to add in hardware so that we can cater for those clients, right? But what if we can feed that data to the clients in real time? Like whenever I get the data, I can push it to the clients. They can see it on real time. There is no polling. There is nothing of that sort required. What that does is it actually eliminates all of the issues that we were actually facing while pulling data from the servers. Let's get wait for the power to get back. Just a second, they're turning on the generators or something. Power issue here?
No, वो इनएक्टिव था तो ये खुद ही टर्न ऑफ।
So my side.
माउस हिला दीजिए।
And we're back. So,
Excuse me.
sure. Second reason why we should use Node.js is it runs fast, mainly because of Create Engine. Node.js is built on top of Create Engine. So when it's running on any of the machines, like it's cross-platform, it's available on Windows, it's available on Mac, it's available on Linux. You can deploy Node over any of the servers that you wish. And what it will do is it has V8 engine, Google's V8 engine. What that will do is whenever it will execute the code, it will compile it before its execution. So it's not doing it time, it actually does beforehand. Right? That makes it faster. Then there is great I/O performance with event loop. The big edge that Node.js has is event loops. It uses event loop. It's a single-threaded web server that's running. It doesn't actually utilize a lot of threads to serve data to clients. What's happening is there is a single thread that's running. It's actually always available and it's always listening for new requests. Whenever there is a request, it gets that request, offloads it to an event loop, and is free again. Like in case of Apache or other web servers, like let's take Apache for example, there is a thread per request problem over there. So what thread per request does is whenever there is a request, a new thread is opened to handle that execution of that request. So think in terms of thousands of requests that are coming to the server. What will happen is we can have what's the limit for threads that we have, dependent on the type of architecture that of the OS that we have. It's 32-bit operating system or 64-bit operating system, and then the architecture of the application that's running on top of it. Putting in all of these arguments, still we get a point where what will happen is when we won't be able to open new threads at that point, and if there is a long-running thread, like if there is a very IO intensive operation that's going on, what will happen is a thread will get blocked. So what happens if like 100 of those get blocked? New threads won't open. They'll wait for those requests to complete, right? Or they'll wait for them to terminate first. Or thread context switching will start happening over there. Context switching in terms of threads is very heavy. It's not a very good idea. What Node does in this kind of a scenario is it gives the IO intensive task over to its event loop. The event loops task is basically we're talking about async programming over here. What it does is it gives the task over to the event loop and registers a callback. So whenever that is completed, whenever that IO intensive operation is completed, it gets back to a single thread that we have running over there. We don't need many threads to run. Plus small number of layers. It's not very complicated. We don't. You can actually make a lot of layers in it, but keeping it small is simple. It's horizontally scalable. Scalability is one of the things. We can run Node.js on a single core. We can run Node.js and use Node.js cluster to utilize all the cores that are available on our server. Like if, for instance, we have an 8-core machine, we can use all of the 8 cores what we are doing is when we are using Node.js cluster is it's basically dividing the load of a single core to multiple cores, and then we can use some Redis or any other library over there, RabbitMQ or anything, where we can use PubSub or where we can maintain our sessions. And what that will do is it will make it available so that if a request is handled on, if a user was on first core and the second request goes to second or third core or fourth core, our sessions will be available across them. Then if you want to go to multiple servers, like we talk about 2 or 3 servers over there, and each server having 8 cores, what we'll be doing is when we run a cluster, we'll have 8 core each instance of node running on 3 machines, plus we'll have a load balancer in front of it, Nginx or any HTTP proxy. And we can have Redis running on any other server that will be maintaining our PubSub for socket IO, and that will be maintaining your sessions, and thus making it available across the board. Moving forward, it's easy to adapt. JavaScript across stack allows easier refactoring. It's JavaScript everywhere. We don't have to transform objects from, for instance, I don't have to transform them from JavaScript to C# and then back from C# or Java or PHP to JavaScript or JSON objects, right? JSON is available on both sides, and they are available as objects. We don't have to parse them. Then there is a smaller code base, builds fast, and a very big reason of why we need to go to Node is, like, you already know JavaScript, right? You've been using it for many years. Like if some of you guys might be in the industry for like 15 years, 20 years, right? And JavaScript has always been there. So nowadays, if you're using JavaScript, you are actually using JavaScript whenever you're creating web applications. Why? Because it's an integral part of a web application. It's required on the front end. You need dynamic front ends. If you need, if you're using Angular, if you're using any one of those client-side frameworks, you'll be using JavaScript. Plus, if you're doing Ajax, you're using JavaScript, right? So when you already know JavaScript, it's easier for you to start writing code in it, and you don't have to learn anything new, except for the fact that you have to transform yourself from synchronous way of coding to asynchronous way of writing code. Then it's fast, as we discussed earlier. Node.js uses the V8 engine, and V8 compiles and executes JavaScript at lightning speeds, mainly due to the fact that V8 compiles JavaScript into native machine code. So it's always a compiled version of the code that's running and that's executing. Another benefit of Node.js is you can make real-time applications, as we discussed earlier in the presentation. Node.js excels at many concurrent connections because it has a single thread and it can maintain a lot of concurrent connections at a single time. It actually passed the C10K problem. Back in 90s, there was an issue where the web community had to actually plan for concurrent connections and concurrent users and how to serve data to them. So Node.js serves that. Basically, nowadays, we don't face that kind of a situation because we've got more hardware, we've got bigger hardware, we've got better machines that are handling it, we've got bigger farms that are handling those requests. But Node.js handles all of that in a very small price, right? Because you can run that, run Node.js on top of on a Linux, headless Linux machine, and it's only that. Plus, mainly because of Node.js Event 2, what we do is we offload all of the IO-intensive work off of the main thread that's actually listening and available over there to serve requests. So what it does is it's always available and it can handle concurrent users. Plus leveraging the power of socket IO and sockets, what we can do is we can have clients connect to our application, the front end connect to our application and keep connected. And it's like more of whenever there is some data, we can push it down to the clients, or if the clients needs anything, we always have a connected socket and they can send us a request using that socket. So the benefit of using those sockets is that we take the overhead of HTTP requests off of our application, and we always have connected sockets over there. Next, let's talk about the community. How much community do we have for Node.js? How many developers are available who are actually working on it? This is a big thing when we are talking about when we plan for a project in Node.js, and let's say it was developed in 2009 and today it's 2016, right? So 9 years. And when we are looking at other languages, I remember working in ASP.NET back in 2002, 2003. Right? And it was there. It's always it's there now. So that means that there is a bigger community. Why should I switch over to Node.js? Because we have over 2 million, Node.js has over 2 million downloads per month. That means 2 million people are actually moving over to Node.js and are interested in making Node.js applications. Then Node Package Manager averaged 211 new modules per day. Ruby gems, Ruby has 68 per day, and Maven Java framework has 61 per day. So looking at 211 means like they have passed both of them. They have passed Java and they have passed Ruby. Total number of NPM packages 100,000 and more. I think this number is certainly we'll have more packages on NPM than what we have written over here, because at the time that this was developed, packages are being developed on daily basis. And if you simply go over to Node.js NPM, what you see over there is you just need to think of a new idea and it will always be available over there. Second most start project on GitHub. It's very popular over there. It's very popular on GitHub. In fact, we are using this we are using Node.js for developing desktop applications as well. So we're not using just Node.js for just server applications. We're using Node.js for desktop applications as well. It's packaged in a site called Electron. We won't be talking about that, but it's a whole new story, a whole separate topic. And the big and a good thing is this open source project is like has joined it on its back. It's a corporate and it's backing it. The jobs market for Node.js has been increasing, and if you see it, if you look at the statistics, at the moment there are 100,000% plus 90,000% increase in the jobs, and this report is from Indeed.com. So let's talk about globals. What are globals in Node.js? So whenever we are talking about any language or any server-side programming language, be it .NET, Java, or any one of those, we need some kind of packages that are available, some kind of libraries that are available that across the board, across my application, available from my controllers, from my web pages, not the client side, server side ones. In Node.js, we have process. I'll be providing information and methods for the process. So the process is actually process. What we do with process is process.std out, standard output, standard error, standard input, process arguments, and process environment. Whenever we're running Node.js is a command line based web server. We need to run it from command line, and we can set multiple environment variables. Like when we are working on our development machines, we set it to development, and we can have a process.environment. Check if it's development, then use certain kinds of things over there. Like in ASP.NET, we use it's in debug mode, or it's in release mode, or the kind of this kind of information which is required when we need to deploy those applications for production, and we need to have multiple environments where we are working on things. Then it's a console application, so there is a console available over there, very basic, very lightweight, and it allows printing to std out and std error. This is like some of you if you work with C language or C++, this is the same kind of practice that we use over there when we are writing console-based applications. Requires the module which what require actually does is when we need a new module, what we do is we install it using npm. Once that module is installed, it's either available globally or it's installed for our project or for the purpose of our project, right? So when we write, for instance, I have a module that's called ABC, and I install it using npm. When I require it, I would write require, and within the brackets, I would write the name of the module. And what it will do is it will first search the local modules and then go over to the global modules to search out that package for us, and look for the package.json file and look for its main JavaScript file that needs to be loaded, and it would load all of that library for us. Further, module refers to current module. Whenever we need to export some functionality from, like for instance, everything that we write in Node.js can be a module, right? For example, maybe we need to use local storage, or we need to write a small log functionality, and we need to make it available across the board. In other languages, what we do is, let me take an example of .NET. What we would do is we would make a DLL of it, and we would spread it across all of the layers that we have. In Node, what we would do is we would write module.exports and write the name of the module or the class that we want to export. So what that does is it actually exposes the functionality of the class that we are providing, class or object or whatever you may call it. And modules allow Node to be extended. They act as libraries. We can include a Node module with global require function, require that we discussed a little earlier in this slide. Everything that we write is a module, and we leverage and we use require to actually load it. If it's one of our modules, if it's written by us, we need to provide a proper path to it, and if it's a Node module, or if we install it using npm, what will happen is we just need to provide the name of the module and it will search it for us. But if we have written it, if it's a custom library, if it's only available in my project, my current project, I'll have to provide a whole path to whatever the module is.
बहुत से हाँ मैं मेन्यू से चेक करता हूँ कि
Okay. Node provides four modules that can be included by the name. Those four modules are FS, file system, HTTP. It's for basic HTTP request responses and utilities for basic util functionality. Usually working on are we waiting? Whenever we are writing an application, we can make it so that that single application is a complete application and we've not divided it into multiple libraries and stuff. But we can work either way. We can write modules and we can actually require them using a file path. Everything that we create in Node.js, every class file that we make, every class that we make is actually a module. And we can actually require it in other classes to basically do some code reusability. But how we can actually use it, if we use a single slash between path dot slash and double dot slash means relative to the calling file. Like whichever file that is actually going to that actually requires this module, it will go to its relative path, and then from there it starts searching for where our module is. Any valid type can be exported from a module by assigning it to a module.exports. As we discussed, whenever we are writing a module, we write module and we want to export some particular functionality to other modules. And what we do is, for instance, we create a class and we write a lot of functionality in that class, and we want to make it available to other modules so they can leverage the functionality of this class too. What we need to do is module.exports and the name of the class export. And will be available across the board to any other module that actually requires it. Let's see what a module is, what I've been talking about all this time. We have a bar.js and two.js. We have two classes, and within bar.js, if we write module.exports and we assign it a string, I am a string, right? In two.js, we write require /bar.js. What will happen is it will look for bar.js relative to its path and its load, and it will load it. And whenever we throw an output, it will show us the string that we actually exported from there. So it's actually whatever we assign it, like if bar.js is a module and that module's functionality is to give back a string, right? And we want to use it within another module. It's like basically what we are doing over here is we are making one class and we are leveraging its functionality in another class. Let's look at a better example for this one, a more comprehensive one. We have bar.js and .js again, and module.exports.hello equals to a function that returns hello. And module.exports.by is equal to a function that returns a by. They are both returning string, but in a different way now. We assigned those, we've actually exposed two methods over here. One is hello and the other one is the by. If we don't actually do module.exports, what will happen is this functionality will not be available outside of this class, right? And in the foo.js, when we require bar.js and we write bar.hello, it will print hello. And when we write bar.by, it will print by. So what we did is a very simple, we created a very simple module named Node.js, and we acquired it in another class and we used its methods. Node architecture, a very basic architecture. We have JavaScript, C++, and C language modules. Basically, known as you can write modules for Node.js in 3 languages. Either it can be JavaScript, it can be C++ in C++, or it can be in C. So they are very core level. They work at a very core level, and they are very low level languages, right? And excuse me. On top of that, there is Node standard library, FS and HTTP, and all of those standard libraries that are available by default within the Node package. Then there are sockets in HTTP, Node bindings. On top of it, we have VA. Okay, let's continue from where we were. We have bindings, socket, HTTP, etc. Then we have on top of it, or below it, we have VA. Basically, that combines the JavaScript code that we built in for our server-side application and makes it machine ready. Then we have thread tool, like CIO actually handles our thread tool, and event loop is LIB. So these two are available over there to actually manage the threads and event loops for us. So Node handles request with a single thread, like we discussed at the beginning of the what we talked about was that there was a single thread that was actually handling request and response cycle, and that's the main reason that Node seems or appears to be faster than a lot of other browsers that are a lot of other web servers that are available over there. So how does it do that? How does it maintain so many concurrent connections? How does it handle all of the connections in a single thread? Making it single threaded technically sounds like it should get stuck. Can you speak a bit louder? Okay. As we were talking about Node.js, it's single-threaded. It's not multi-threaded like other frameworks. It's not multi-threaded like Apache, for instance, which handles requests, single request per thread, and where we actually get into the problem of context switching, where we get into the problem of thread limits, and where we get into we face problems such as if one of our threads gets stuck, and if we have like 100 or 200 of those, if we have like specific requests that is handling intensive I/O operations. Intensive I/O operations. what will happen is our application will start to look at it slow, right? And we would want to do that. We would want to handle every request that's coming in. We would want to leverage the flexibility of our, like we would want to make our web application available 100%, right? 100% of time. Am I audible now? Right.
See, just let them settle down first.
What Node.js does is, so what Node.js does is it actually handles everything with a single thread, and then every instance has its own single thread. And do we have a mic or anything to say about
सर ये कुछ सेटअप कर लेते हैं फिलहाल ये कुछ कर लेंगे थोड़ा तेज
I'll try to be even more audible now, even though I have a very short throat. So we were talking about single-threaded Node.js being single-threaded, right? And when we run a Node.js instance, it runs on a single core. We scale it out on a single. We can scale it out on a single machine. We can scale it out across multiple machines, and we can use Node cluster modules to actually handle scaling functionality. We can use Redis on top of it to handle sessions across the board, and the OS does our node management when we're talking about a single instance. When we're talking about multiple machines that we need to add in Linux or any other load balancer, there is also a node HTTP or a node proxy module. I don't remember the name of it, but it's actually a module, and you can program it in Node. It actually acts as a load balancer for your application. Thank you. Okay, how fast can this be? Extensive one is moved off request thread. In traditional multi-threaded environments, each thread handles the complete request. In Node.js, all of the I/O operations are offloaded from the main thread off to event loop, and that event loop actually, what it does is it actually registers a callback and starts executing our code or starts doing the I/O intensive work for us, freeing the main thread that's actually available over there to listen to all of the requests that are coming in. Then threads are limited by RAM and are expensive to create. The more threads that we need, the more the more available that we need to make our application, the more hardware that we need to throw in there to make it work. With Node.js, we don't need to do that, and we can make solutions that are cheaper and that are available, and that actually don't add up to our infrastructure cost. Our applications are not that much expensive when we are moving over to Node.js, right? Because we can use headless Linux machines, and we can use pretty small Linux machines to actually serve a lot of users. And context switching is very expensive when we're talking about threading. Context switching is not a very good idea. I was reading an article over it. There was a guy who actually developed a Java-based solution, and he was using Apache for it. What Apache was doing for him was thread per user, thread per request. That sounded good for a time, but at a certain point in time, what started happening was context switching started happening. Why context switching started happening? Because the server hits its thread limit, and to cater for new requests, what it was doing was it was actually switching between threads to do the execution on the CPU side. Allows us to easily write asynchronous code without heavy thread management, synchronization, message passing, etc. Asynchronous code is where we write some functionality and we provide a callback as an argument. And in Node.js, what happens is that callback actually gets registered, and the execution starts happening on the event loop. The event loop takes care of the execution, and as soon as the execution is completed, it gets back to the single thread that we are running, that's actually listening to new requests, and that's actually responding to any execution that was previously going on. Okay, as an example, this is available over there on the internet. As an example, LinkedIn, actually, they went from running 15 servers with 15 instances on each physical machine to just 4 instances that can handle 2 times the traffic with Node.js. LinkedIn's mobile API is running on Node.js, and as you can see over here, they went from 15 servers with 15 instances on each physical machine to just 4 instances that can handle 2 times the traffic. That means a considerable amount of cost that we cut down on the hardware side, right? It's a big benefit. And a very big thing, it's like really great to have a single thread do all of the job for us. It's very light, everything seems to be good, fast, but the big thing that we need to be careful about is not to do any heavy IO intensive operation on that single thread that is actually listening. Like if we stop writing asynchronous code on the server side, what will happen is it will start executing code synchronously. That synchronous execution will lock our single thread, and the server will not be available in the time it's executing that chunk of code or it's doing that IO operation, right? So it's never a good idea to write synchronous operations or synchronous code with Node.js because we have a single thread, right? And we don't want to like start reading a file from the disk and executing it or parsing it, and all of the clients, all the rest of the clients are just waiting for it to complete. And what will happen is our site will not be available when it's serving one request. Adding a callback over there will make it available to everybody. All those operations will keep on going, and it would look seamless. And we have packages available through Node Package Manager. Like we have NuGet for .NET, and we have other Maven for Java, and Gems, Ruby Gems for Ruby. In NPM, modules can be shared by packaging. We can create a package and we can upload it for the community to use. And anybody who has to do the same functionality or has to use that functionality can download our package and require it. Node Package Manager NPM is a package manager for Node, and it has a command line interface like Node. There are no GUI tools when we are talking about Node. Everything is command line based, and public registry is npmjs.org. You can go over there, you can browse and download modules from there. Allow us to install packages from repo and publish our own. Okay, how do we actually create a module when we want to publish it? First, we need to create a package.json file for our app, same as creating a web config or a config. This is basically a configuration file that tells the package manager or that tells the required module what version of the module is, or it tells the package manager what version of the module is. Secondly, it tells who's the author and all that sorts of information. Contains metadata for our application and lists the dependencies. Package.json, there is an interactive guide available for it as well.
दबा के रखना क्या शट डाउन करना शीट की मैं उसको फोन करता हूँ करेंगे यानी स्पीकर नहीं ओ हो गया हो गया ऑन हो गया स्पीकर जरा
Do you guys have any questions? Anything that you want to ask? Anything that like generally जिसे JavaScript में हम लोग करते हैं फंक्शन बेस्ड भी होता है हम लोग इसको हम लोग प्रिटेंड कर सकते हैं कि ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड है हम लोग क्लासेस बना सकते हैं क्लासेस के ऑब्जेक्ट्स बना सकते हैं स्ट्रक्चर्स बना सकते हैं लेकिन सब कुछ उस तरह होता नहीं है एक्चुअली right? It's still an object. It's going to be available to the function. जो हम लोग original object oriented the core and that is pattern implementation or design pattern basically problem solving के लिए in terms of JavaScript in terms of Node हम लोग end pattern ला रहे थे. We don't implement pattern. They are not available over there.
It's implement where the developer say they face a challenge when it comes to debugging.
It is a challenge.
Breakpoints इसके में available नहीं होते सारी आपको debugging ज़्यादा logs के through भी करनी पड़ती है. This is what I heard. कि आपने कुछ नहीं facing was the best solution to.
Well, I will tell you, but personal experience. ठीक है. There are debuggers available. ठीक है. But that debugger is not same as Visual Studio when we debugging any application in Visual Studio. Visual Studio is really awesome, right? Even when we are writing Java applications, all of the IDEs that are available for Java, super awesome. But when we are talking about Node.js, yes, there is a big gap when we need to debug an application. Most of the times, when I need to go through a file or when I need to go through a problem, I was writing the same application in MVC.NET. What I would do is I would run the application in debug mode and put some breakpoints and see the difference between setup, see what was expected over there and what's coming up. Over here, what I usually do to make it fast is I add in console.log. But we have no debuggers available. Strong Loop has made some developers available as well. To utilize that functionality, basically most of the packages, see if you just look at the commands for npm ls and that those commands there for Linux specific, and first version was for Linux, right? Make it. If you're running it natively, you can use no debugger. You can use strong loops debugger, and it will load the debugging in Chrome's developer that toolbar thing. Your code will be loaded over there.
Standard ID
.NET से आने वाले लोग Visual Studio यूज कर लेते हैं, they can't get off of that same ID. मैं personally WebStorm use करता हूँ mainly because WebStorm is developed by JetBrains, जिनका resharper tool है, very good tool for maintaining code and all of those shortcuts that I was used to when I was working in .NET. Visual Studio are available in WebStorm. It's lightweight, has a very small footprint in memory. I don't need a mega PC to actually start writing code. Any other question?
So even you can or अगर let's say 1000 credible बनने में is processes हम
पॉइंट आपने खुद ही उस हिसाब से किया क्वेश्चन का, ठीक है? अगर आपके पास हर रिक्वेस्ट के लिए थ्रेड ओपन हो रही है और आपका सीपीयू जो है वो उसको रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं कर सकता और इट्स ओवरलोडेड, राइट? इट्स Node.js IO इंटेंसिव एप्लीकेशंस के लिए, सीपीयू इंटेंसिव एप्लीकेशंस के लिए नहीं है। कोई भी सीपीयू इंटेंसिव काम करेंगे तो आपको काफी डिलेज मिलेंगे ईदर वे, राइट? बिकॉज़ आपकी कैलकुलेशन नहीं होगी, सारी एग्जीक्यूशन होनी है, राइट? बट द थिंग इज if you have in Node.js single-threaded application, you might loop to hand over and it makes itself available for next request. So any conjective requests will not get stuck. User को वो जो loading का time आ रहा होता है, and he has to actually wait के बाद server को respond करता है, वो नहीं मिल रहा होता, क्योंकि request hand over. लेकिन जब थ्रेड्स कंप्लीट होती है फिर क्या होता है? कॉन्टेक्स्ट स्विचिंग शुरू हो जाती है। दैट्स ए कंसेप्ट, राइट? या फिर थ्रेड एक ही है, पीछे एग्जीक्यूशन जो हो रही है, जो इंटेंसिव ऑपरेशंस की एग्जीक्यूशन हो रही है, वो एग्जीक्यूशन इवेंट लूप के थ्रू हो रही है। उसके लिए मेरी न्यू रिक्वेस्ट को वेट नहीं करना पड़ा, एक पहली वाली एग्जीक्यूशन कंप्लीट होगी तो फिर मेरी नई रिक्वेस्ट आंसर होगी।
तो इस केस में हमारे पास एक पॉसिबिलिटी हो सकती है कि हमारा
थ्रेड चोक हो जाए, नहीं थ्रेड चोक होगा जब आप उसके ऊपर कोई आईओ इंटेंसिव ऑपरेशन करेंगे, वो थ्रेड हमेशा अवेलेबल होगा क्योंकि वो ऑफलोड कर रहा है अपना काम।
आई मीन जो इवेंट ग्रुप वाला वो भी किसी थ्रेड में या किसी पे चल रहेगा,
इट हैज इट्स ओन बेनिफिट। हां,
सो वो इवेंट ग्रुप वाला जो चल रहा है, जावास्क्रिप्ट का भी वो वाला जो ग्रुप है वो बहुत ज्यादा लोड है।
ठीक है, एक हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन है, आपका सीपीयू ओवरलोड हो गया, 100% सीपीयू यूजेज आपने इस तरीके से अटेन कर लिया, राइट? अब मुझे कोई एक कंसर्न सारी जो सिचुएशन के अंदर रिस्पॉन्ड कर सकता है, एनी वन ऑफ देम। आई डोंट थिंक any one of them will be able to handle any more requests due to the CPU short over, right? You would need to add in another processor, or you would need to add in another, मतलब scaling का नहीं होता ना, आपकी इतनी ज़्यादा एप्लीकेशन की रिक्वायरमेंट सेवन होती है कि आपको स्केल आउट करना है, your single server is unable to handle more requests anymore.
So for kind of input दोनों सर्वर जैसे दिखते हैं,
एक चीज we can't compare technologies, right? Apache has been in the market, Apache has been doing its job for a very long time now. Community project, it's been there. Nginx is also over there. Node.js is built on that same design to get Nginx. Nginx was is said to be better in terms of the reply time. Q, it's a reverse proxy. ऐसा ये है कि maximum content based requests को वो encrypt लेता है और आगे सर्वर को पास ऑन नहीं करता। जो डेटा रिक्वेस्ट होती है उनको सर्वर को पास ऑन करता है। तो आप इसका क्या मतलब है? अगर आप एक पेज सर्व करते हैं, पेज जो सर्व होना है आज के एनवायरनमेंट के अंदर एवरीथिंग इज इंडेक्स, राइट? Page will be a container. Page will require some images, CSS, JSN, all that sort of stuff. If it's not cached on the site, but it's this is a very big debate. Take it still, keeping it very small. अगर आपकी सारी ऐसी content based requests को filter out करते हैं और हम उनको सर्व करना चाहते हैं और हम उसको पहले ही return back करते हैं, it's not how caching works, right? तो क्या होगा? आपका काफी सारा load सर्वर से रिमूव हो जाएगा। Node.js की टीम सब करती है।
How do you compare these things? Some experts say that it could be a better solution for the sort of applications where we have intensive applications, we have push applications from servers, like this, like Excel, like the applications, after life, it should not be better solution for applications where we have lots of elements, typical elements. How do you compare?
Node का plus point है. Let me rephrase my question. What do you recommend? Node is the expression where first is every node that we look at depends on the project, the current value that you want to that we're looking at. It's like the scenario after that, scenario के अंदर कौन सा है? We need to push updates to the client, right? We need concurrent connections. Plus, we need like push from the server. Push available बाकी people, okay. Because is available है, लेकिन इतनी lightweight नहीं है ये Node.js है. Basically, Node.js socket IO के साथ device की connect करता है, clients connect करते हैं, concurrent users. They can get a lot of C10K for 2,000 चाहिए, 10,000 concurrent users, 100,000 concurrent users, right? So, अगर आपके पास 100,000 concurrent users at a time connected है and you want to push updates to them, आपको server सिर्फ data के update का wait कर रहा है. Node is really good in that kind of situation. Node is really good in a situation where you need to do IO intensive work. जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा IO required है, आपको आपने files से read करना है, आपने उसकी basis पे कुछ operations करने हैं. It's good. It can even work in most of the management systems that you make. Make it. When we look at PHP, .NET, Java, they have a market that they get their consumers from. Java, enterprise market. .NET, medium, medium enterprise, right? You can't say that we will have a replace, like one will replace the other one. PHP can be replaced if you have a .NET and Java. They are all available over there. Cost matter very easily. My question is, ideally, किस तरह की applications concurrent usage चाहते हैं आपके पास बहुत ज़्यादा है, real time IO बहुत ज़्यादा है, real time data push बहुत ज़्यादा है, वहाँ पे ये
second part of my question is, does it provide any caching? Like caching, server-side caching?
cache. Node.js is a web server, right? It's built on the principles of Nginx. Nginx actually handles all of that. You're talking in terms of IAS, right? IAS is a component of that. What is the module issue of this? बहुत basic, बहुत ground level functionality available होती है, ठीक है? क्यों? इससे फायदा ये होता है कि मेरा web server will always be fast, it will always responses will be fast. बहुत ज़्यादा modules नहीं है जिनको लोड करके उसमें reply back करना है, right? नुकसान क्या है इसका? नुकसान ये है IIS for instance errors को अपने पास नहीं कर लेता है. Node.js पे क्या होगा मेरे पास अगर मैंने error नहीं किया था, मैं ब्रेक कर जाता हूँ, सर्वर क्रैश कर जाएगा. सर्वर क्रैश का मतलब ये है वेबसाइट अनअवेलेबल. मेरे पास वो येलो स्क्रीन जो फोन हम लोग ये वो नहीं आई, ठीक है. लेकिन the benefit of that yellow screen is one side is available. UIS managing that part, right? यहाँ पे basic होने की वजह से क्या करेगा? It will not be available anymore. ठीक है, modules है. एक module है forever जो basically करता ही है कि वो हमेशा check करते रहता है. If a node instance crashes, it restarts. And it keeps on restarting it जब तक कि वो अपना state नहीं आता. But we have a basic problem. हम लोगों को work in one of projects, we were basically printing PDFs, right? That PDF component, it would actually get stuck on a board and it would not close itself. Or open up a thread and it would not close. क्या हुआ? मेरा एक कोड है, 1000. उस पेपर वो लिसन कर रहा था, प्रिंट कर रहा था, वो क्रैश हो गया था. अब क्या हुआ? और मैंने स्टार्ट की कोशिश कर रहा and it stopped. Now that was my fault. I had to handle it. And if I were doing it in .NET ने काफी चीजों का affect किया था. इसमें ये चीजों का handling करना पड़ता, right? I'm sorry, I'm not taking the question. But अगर आप अपना सेटअप करते हैं ये हो गए
नहीं यहाँ पे सही है यहाँ से ब्रॉडकास्ट.
Sir, okay. Thank you guys. I'm pretty much tired now. Thank you very much.